Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Ball Watching, a St. Louis City SC podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Jake, joined by Justin on this fine, lovely Wednesday evening, and we are here to break down a preview of St. Louis City SC's upcoming Saturday match against FC Dallas, a team that we are looking to hopefully get on the bounce on because they are a good side and we need a win and to recover from what was a pretty abysmal April, if we're being totally honest, Justin. But not all bad vibes today. We wanted to start off on a lighter note before we get into all of the breakdown for this. But Justin, I think you have us today. It's a little bit different of a five-a-side, not so much the five.
Exactly. A little bit more of a debate, which I think we had a couple of these to start on, but this was pretty heavy in our friend group a couple of weeks back and definitely got heated for no reason at all. But the question is, which is easier to eat? $50 of Breadco or $28 of Taco Bell? Breadco being Panera, Bico, whatever you want to call it, and then T-Bell. So, Jake, I'm going to kick it to you to start. I'll let you choose first.
I like the origin of this. I definitely like the origin of this. I'm going to preface by saying, me personally, I could do either because I'm an eater. Absolutely. No, I'm not going to struggle with either of these challenges. But if we're just going based on pure utility, I have to sit on the Taco Bell side. And I say that, and then Justin, I think you said bring your order too. So
bring your order to the table.
Yeah. So I have a $29 order right now. It's about $29.01 on the dot. And how I would go about doing this is the key to this part for me is the add-ons. Is adding expensive items on, and that's legal, fully legal move. So I would go is a Taco Bell Power Bowl. So it's like a Chipotle bowl, but Taco Bell, and it comes with chicken. And I would add beans, potatoes, spicy ranch, and steak. That gets me to about $10.60 for that bowl. So we're making our way there. The next two things are the same, but I'm just going to get two of them because I can. And that is a steak grilled cheese burrito, which one, I didn't even know they had that. That sounds phenomenal. But I would get two of those bad boys and only add on beans, guac, lettuce, tomatoes. By the way, lettuce and tomatoes for them is like 70 cents each, which is crazy. If you ask me, but hey,
still not worried.
I'm going to exploit that. So two of those burritos and I'll round it off with a $2.30 chips and nacho cheese sauce, like the tiny chips, like you see like in a small fry pack at McDonald's. That's my order. And I think that's easy. I will do that very easily.
So you're doing a bowl and two burritos. I don't care about your add-ons plus the side of chips and cheese.
Yep.
Okay.
Those burritos, we're not talking like Chipotle sized burritos. We're talking
I know.
Taco Bell burritos.
Yeah. But they're still going to be heavy.
$29.
All right, I'm going to keep it real simple. This is very easy. I didn't have to do any add-ons or anything. I actually just kept it as straight as you can get it. 3 signature take chicken sandwiches and 3 fruit cups. And I'm at a total of $53.80. So I'm already over by $3.80.
Yeah.
Total calories for the whole thing is only 1,890. I kept it under 2K, which I feel like is even a reasonable meal.
That actually is more reasonable in terms of the calories than I thought it was going to be. The thing with the chicken sandwiches, and you're going to chicken sandwich route, because by the way, everything at Panera or Breadco, whatever side you sit on, is like $12.50, like $12.50 flat. Like everything is that.
That sandwich alone is $12.49.
Yeah, it's like everything is that.
You don't have to. So if you were adding on stuff, I can say no side. You don't have to get it. It's just, and I did. I'm just saying no side with it.
My one fruit cup. The one thing I hesitate with on that is I think I could absolutely do that as well, but is the breadiness of it. Like for me, the bowl isn't as bready. There are some potatoes in the bowl, and then the burritos, obviously, the chips not really going to count. That's where I think people might struggle is the breadiness of it. Like 3 different buns and 3 big pieces of chicken. The 3 fruit cups is an interesting take. I was not expecting to go that route to fill in the rest.
They're $3.89, and they're like this. Yeah. Well, then also, all right, you say breadiness, Jake. If you go to Chick-fil-A, how many sandwiches could you put down if you were extremely hungry? I feel like 3 is not out of the realm.
Again, it's me. Like I'm absolutely having at least 2. You
just have to do this. And then if it's not, which one's easier? Which one could do it the fastest between me and you?
Oh, who could do it? Are you adding the fast element to this? Oh, absolutely me, dude.
Easiest between us. What?
It's absolutely me. Absolutely me.
Yeah. Hot take. All right, let's get into it.
We could always do it if we have to. If people want to see that, if enough people want to see that, we could make it happen. We could absolutely make it happen. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. Justin, I think, is frozen on my screen. But I'm going to go ahead and get us into the Portland Timbers match with anyone that was at it, watched it. I'm ahead of time. I'm sorry. That was not a fun match to watch, and I'm really hoping that we can, recover from that, because it was not our best time by any means. And I think when you think about that, it probably was our worst performance of the season, to be totally honest. And for the first time, I feel like, maybe not the first time, but the second time, we were given possession, pretty pointedly on purpose from the opposing team, and they absolutely exploited the crap out of us. So they did that. They let us have the ball. They let us try to force um, us to make and chance create on them, which we weren't able to do clearly. And really, now it's about trying to make adjustments too. And Carnell really wasn't able to do that. Justin, I see you're back with us. I've been kind of starting the Portland kind of talk around how the Portland game went. Just kind of talking about no chance creation. They gave us possession. We couldn't do anything with it. It's slowly becoming a little bit of a blueprint on how to play against St. Louis City. What do you think?
I would completely agree. Unfortunately, it was someone else tweeted it. Maybe you mentioned that. Sorry, my internet cut out. But yeah, it's one of those things where like people have finally looked at the stats and realized that, hey, if you give this team enough space and try to make them take the game to you, that's not their style. And it really isn't. I think we talked about it. We're high press, high reward kind of thing. And we just haven't seen that in the past couple of games. I think teams are learning pretty quick.
Unfortunately. And yeah, and like you said, you mentioned there was an article from Matt Doyle, who's a writer for MLS, and he said there's kind of like a recipe for being able to cook us in these games, and it's coming out to letting us have possession, which we've seen with Minnesota specifically in the very beginning, and Portland last game. Avoid simple, stupid mistakes at the back, which obviously we've reaped the benefits of in some of the earlier games this season. And thirdly, anytime you win a 50-50, which is rare against us, we have a lot of tackles, but give us a dose of our own medicine and play very direct in attack. And to be honest, I couldn't have said it any better myself. Those are the three keys if you want to beat us. Now, that's not to say that that's how any team can beat us this whole season. This is what Carnell is here for. Like, you're not here to just have a style and just game after game deploy the same exact look. You have to be able to adjust. And now we're getting to this point. We've played, what is it, 10 games now, Justin? No, yeah, we're going on our 11th game. Yeah. So he's going to have to kind of put his money where his mouth is. We hired him in as a good coach, big prospect. He's got some good credentials from New York, and man, this is where he's got to make his money. If you're asking me.
I completely agree. I think it's one of those things where we just have to make an adjustment. I know people are like, well, if that's how you beat them, then if they already figured us out in the first 10 games, what are you supposed to do for the extra 20 plus in the rest of the year? No, that's how we adjust. And I think we're going to see that as we talk about it later with starting lineup too. I think you make adjustments with individuals and how they're playing throughout the year. It's not the same starting 11 throughout the year. Obviously, we've known that with Klaus up top and some other injuries at Blum, but now it's about who's playing and who's going to fit the style that we need at that time.
Yeah, I agree. And so admittedly, I'm not going to talk too much with the stats. I know he had some stats in your adjustment of the game. It was nothing to write home about. So obviously they had double our XG, and they deservedly did. They should have definitely beaten us, and we almost made it somewhat of an interesting night. But we had to shoot ourselves in the foot on that second goal. So that aside, obviously no one made team of the match day for this week in the MLS. We've been fortunate to be on there a lot of these weeks, but I will say one unsung hero, and I don't think we talked about it too much, Justin, in the recap, but there was a fun stat about an Ostrak. I'm a big Ostrak guy. Still want to see more from him, but he led the team in chances despite only playing 35 minutes. He was the one that had the assist on Pompeu's goal, and he really only had 23 touches that entire night, but he created 2 chances from those 23 touches. So that type of level of production is something that I think we want to see a lot more of coming from him. And I think if he's able to do that and emulate that style, he's going to hopefully get a lot more minutes from Carnell moving forward. And I think this game, I'm not going to put him in my starting 11 yet, but this game, along with the next coming games, depending on how we respond, could be a place where I think you could insert him for some more creativity.
Absolutely. I think especially on the wings, we have a lot of guys that we've already been talking about with Isak Jensen, Jared Stroud, and talking with Ostrak, Azil Jackson. Looking at these guys, and Akil Watts, even in the right back position, just looking at these guys, there's plenty of interchangeable parts. So one of them needs to stick out. And I think he had a good showing in those 35 minutes, but we still need to see a little more. So unless he's showing out this week in practice, I wouldn't expect to start him either. Kind of going into that after what this game did to us in the power rankings, we dropped from 4 to 7 in the MLS and 3 to 6 in ESPN. I think that's fair. I mean, we didn't look good at all. I'm kind of surprised we didn't drop more.
Yeah.
I mean, the game was admittedly closer on the scoreboard than what it was on the field, if anybody was watching. But overall, nothing, like you said, nothing to write home about.
Yeah. There's just two other side pieces I saw just in terms of news this past week, not related to our game against Dallas coming up, but Blum looks like he's progressing well. I saw a tweet from Santiago Beltran from Flyover Footy podcast, and he was talking about how he ran into him actually and sounded very optimistic about returning very soon. And so soon is always with quotation marks, like what is soon to people, but sounds to be about 2 weeks we're looking at with Blum, at least returning. I don't know if that means like full fitness that he's back and he's starting, or if that means like he's starting to play in full contact, in practice again. I'm hoping it's more of the first. Caden Glover also participating in first team practice, has not been happening up until I think this week. So good for him. Lastly, this is an interesting stat, Justin. I don't know what you thought about this, but Western Conference, two powerhouse teams right now, actually a bunch of powerhouse teams. Western Conference is stacked, dude. It's sad how much better that is. But the Sounders have 132 sequences of 10 plus passes this season. And you look at, we were playing, it was Giants against Giants earlier in the season. It was 1 versus 2 in the Western Conference, and us versus them, obviously. And we are second in the West, just behind them. Yet we have the least amount of these 10 plus passes with 31 to their 132. And by the way, people are like, oh my God, that's awful. It's like, well, that's how we play. We're not trying to be that beautiful, pretty team that Sounders are, and good for them. But, we're at second and we have the least amount of those. So not to say it's necessary, but it is illuminating for sure.
It's a very weird stat. I was shocked when you put that out there. And obviously it doesn't matter when you get points. It's just two completely different styles. And so that's one thing that teams are going to look at when they play against Seattle too. If you're going to try to beat them, it's the opposite of us. You want to take the game to them and kind of put them on their back heels. Don't let them get this long build up possession. So just two different styles of play. So nothing to worry about there.
Yeah.
But I think if that's it, we want to hop into the FC Dallas preview.
Let's do some Dallas, man. So Dallas is an OG. They've been in the league since 1996 as one of the charter clubs. They were founded in 1995 as the Dallas Burn before adopting the FC Dallas name in 2004. I kind of like Dallas Burn. I wish
when we did the soccer team emblems or logos, the Burn was up there just in my head from playing FIFA way back in 2004. It's like it was a dark horse like breathing fire. It was awesome.
That's pretty cool. No, I wish it have stuck with it, man, because I think that's cool. They have a supporter shield. So supporter shield just means they won all the most points in a single season. No one really cares about that. Obviously, people care about the MLS Cups, of which they have none. They do have 2 U.S. Open Cups, though, coming in 97 and 2016. They came back to the playoffs last year after missing. They finished 3rd in the Western Conference, had a great defensive record, which is not what I think people think about when they think about FC Dallas. Only the Union had conceded fewer goals last season, 26 compared to their 37. So a solid 2022 for them. They got 14 wins, 9 losses, 11 draws, and they lost to the eventual winner in LAFC in the semifinals. So I think if you're looking at them, they're wanting to build on that success and hopefully make a similar, if not better, run in 2023. And they're off to a decent start. How are they faring so far this year, Justin, in 2023?
Well, I was going to say, even before we get into that, their home record last year, they were 10-3-4 as opposed to their away 4-6-7. So I think that's a little bit more of the atmosphere down there in Dallas. I know, massive soccer city and just state in general. So I think people are really showing out. So not an easy place to play. But as we're looking into 2023, they're 4-3-3, 4 wins, 3 losses, 3 draws, 4th in the Western Conference. Kind of a similar story, though. Away, they have 1 win, 2 draws, and 2 losses. Home, 3 wins, 1 draw, and 1 loss. 12 goals for, 11 goals against. That's the one thing that I really noted from me, Jake, is before we get into these individual games was they've played, 10 games as well then? And they only have 12 goals for and 11 goals against. That is some low scoring games.
That is right. Yeah, no, it is. It is. They get in these just really, really tight games. They're not going to blow anyone out, but they're not also not going to get blown out either. So I thought that was interesting. I watched some of their game footage. A couple of them stick out to me, Justin. LA Galaxy was one of their first wins, if not their first win. Big comeback W from them. Galaxy actually went up 1-0 before they scored 3. That to me was a game where you see how Dallas wants to play. They break out on attack so quickly. They have so much speed. And we'll get into some of the players there. So I was impressed with that game. They had 3 big chances and they scored all 3. So they were very efficient. They beat the S-Words out west. They gave the S-Words their first goal of the season And they also conceded a PK to them only for it to be saved. Just, I love them throwing them a lifeline and just taking it right back out. Just heart-wrenching stuff for these guys. They lost to LAFC. Totally understandable. But what I'm starting to pick up is because the next couple of games that I did watch was LAFC, New York City FC, and Minnesota United. To me, the Dallas vulnerability is in their back line. And they give the ball away. They're vulnerable to the press. The goalkeeper even made a couple of mistakes in distribution. They were caught sleeping on a couple things. So that to me looks like a game where if I'm Carnell, it's like unleash the press, man. You know, people are talking about, is it working? Is it not working? Where is it? You've got to nail it down this game because this is it's mouthwatering to look at these guys are giving the ball away and causing their own goals against right now. They're just gifting them. So I think this is a huge game for this press to flick the light switch back on and just let loose because they could reap the rewards.
I mean, imagine Celio and Aziel Jackson and thinking about Nico Gioacchini up top. Those guys just have to be grinning from ear to ear. Those guys are going to be pumped at playing some nice weather in Dallas and just be flying around. So I think that is going to be something we definitely need to look at. I know on a couple of these.
Yeah.
I mean, when you talk about those last three, loss, and a tie to Minnesota. So, I mean, they're not on the hottest streak, but obviously they've been holding pretty strong.
Yeah.
And they've had a decent schedule so far. I know we touched on a couple of those teams. They had the S words, but they also played LAFC, Minnesota. So those are solid teams. Some are in playoff position, some are not. So not one of those games. And we're going to see that as we get throughout the year. It's going to be a lot more level as opposed to, you played 3 teams in the playoffs or 3 teams at the bottom of the table. So mentioning of 3, we can hop straight into the key players. I'll take the first one just because it is a lot easier. 3 key players to watch for them. Jesus Ferreira. He's a 22-year-old American worth about $8 million on transfer market, 18 caps and 8 goals for the U.S. men's national team, 5 goals and 10 appearances for Dallas this year with 18 goals last year. He only has 7 shots on goal, and he has scored 5 of them, which is one of the interesting stats. I'm like, when he gets in the box, he can put it away. He has, I think, 19 total shots, but a lot of that is when he's in the box, he finds the right place to put it.
Yeah, he's a good finisher. Not as much for the national team from what I think we've seen and what we would like him to be, but he is a good finisher. He kind of plays as like a false 9 for them. Paul Arriola is also on FC Dallas. They kind of have like a U.S. men's national team tie, obviously. FC Dallas, by the way, also, side note, their academy just churns out products, man. I mean, so many FC Dallas guys and graduates have gone on to big teams, big moves. Ricardo Pepi kind of strikes the most recent one for me. Weston McKennie as well. So Paul Arriola is on FC Dallas. He's 28. I think people think he's a lot lower than that. He's got 50 caps for men's national team, 10 goals. He's got 2 assists so far this season for them. He had 10 goals and 6 assists in 2022, which is great numbers if you're a winger. I think that's a great number. So he's kind of playing on both sides of the wing, especially with an injury, which we'll get to in a second. But Paxton Pomykal as well is another U.S. men's national team guy, was a big prospect. Everyone was feasting their eyes on him for a couple of years ago. He hasn't really panned out to what they thought he was going to be in terms of creativity. He's got 3 caps for the men's national team here. He's out of their academy, but he's kind of stalled in his progress. And some of that's due to injury as well, so I won't take that away from him. He's got 1 assist so far this season, but he does play in their central midfield. He played over 60 games for them the last 2 seasons, so he's a big focal point in their midfield, just not the most productive as they'd like him to be. But I expect to see a lot of those 3 players for sure in this game. Honorable mentions. Sebastian Lletget, also U.S. men's national team guy, one of Greg's guys, is on the team. He will be in the central midfield probably as well. And Alan Velasco is the guy that they're missing. That is a key cog in their system. He is usually on the wing or up front for them. He's out till late May, so thank God we're going to miss him for this leg. We'll probably see him on the home leg here at City Park, but he's electric. He's a really good player, young, I think Argentinian, really exciting guy, but fortunately not going to see him this one.
I know. When I was looking into that, it's kind of surprising the amount of names that, I mean, they're not the best names that you see on the U.S. men's national team, but guys that get minutes and then are kind of in and out of the starting lineup and consistently there in camp. So definitely something to keep a lookout, especially on those guys. And kind of as we transition into their style of play with those guys, head coach Nico Estevez is a Spanish manager. He had a couple stints in the lower leagues of Spain, interim role with Valencia, and he's also one of Greg's guys, which kind of explains a couple of these U.S. men's national team's ties. He's Greg's assistant for the U.S. men's national team in 2019 to 2021, and then FC Dallas hired him in December of 21.
Yeah, he's got a clear style. He usually loves the 4-3-3. He doesn't stray too far away from that, and he drills that position style. Each one has their position kind of drilled into their head. They do play very fluid, though. They perform their roles brilliantly. So he kind of recruits for those specific roles, and they're more about the team versus the individuals. There are some great players in this team, don't get me wrong, but they're not as much about the stars as they are about making sure they play well together as a team. So a little bit of a similarity there with our club here, I think. In terms of defense, they want to be on the ball when they can and prevent gaps for counterattacks, and just, try to make sure they're not going to gift any big chances to the opposing team and limit the turnovers they have. But going forward is where they have, I think, their biggest strength. And that's when they try to win the ball back high. They don't do a ton of pressing, but they will do some. And they want to be big in transition. These guys can hit you quick. I mean, that you lose the ball, in your own, you lose the ball in the offensive third, and they'll be down your throat in the next couple of seconds, because they do have some serious speed up top with Ferreira, with guys like Paul Arriola. So one thing to be on the lookout for: you cannot be caught sleeping here. No cheap giveaways, and everyone know your role, because they will be on you very quick if they can pounce on something.
I think this game's going to be a big one for what we've talked about. One already with the press, but if you're late on the press, you got to end it in their half. We can't let Jesus Ferreira and Paul Arriola just coming right back at us. Sebastian Lletget, any of these guys coming at our back four, because regardless if we have Roman Berkey in net, it's going to be a tough save. So definitely want to keep an eye on there. And as we move into the trends and storylines as well with Dallas, a couple of interesting stats that I found was they've given up exactly 1 goal in every home game they've had so far this year. So just 5. So no shutouts, but also no 2+ goal games. So something interesting to look at there, especially as we're a little bit in a scoring slump. But they currently lead the league in 27 yellow cards. I don't think we're that far behind them. But they're averaging almost 3 a game. That's absurd. And then I think they only have one red card out of all of that. But but like we said, they've only scored 12 goals in 10 games, and all 12 have been inside the 18-yard box. So we already talked about it with Jesus Ferreira. These guys know how to finish once they get in the box, but doesn't seem like Roman will be tested, at least not significantly, from long range.
Yeah. And like, they are doing well. Like, as a team, I mean, fourth Western Conference, nothing to laugh at. But in terms of like productivity, their XG is 1.28 per 90 minutes right now, which gets them bottom 10 in the MLS. For a firepower squad like they have, that's a little bit shocking to me. They do average 1.2 goals, 4 per game. So like, not the most productive outfit they have, but they're making results. And that's what a good team does, man. They just grind them out. They've higher goals for at home, which is unfortunate for us. They also have higher shot conversion percentages at home. So, shots that lead to goals. They're top 10 in shots on target percentage. And they're a big threat from dead balls. They have the most shot creating actions from dead ball passes. So corner kicks, free kicks, PKs, what have you, throw-ins. These guys will look to spring attacks based on those types of opportunities. They are most likely to score. Over 50% of the time they score is either early in the 0 to 10 minute mark, which is scary, man. You do not want to concede early, especially if you're us right now looking to rebound after an abysmal, month, and late in the 71st and 90th minute. So 2 of the most just gut punching time periods of this game is when they excel the most. So we're going to need to be on our toes all game, man. They're a big second half team.
That's when that's when they score the most of their goals, but they still only score 12 goals. Right. So like, if we just got, like you said, I mean, I think we do a pretty good job of closing games out for the most part. But yeah, I would say especially with this fan base that's going to be behind them, we need to make sure we just get through the first 15 minutes. Let's not, like, we're going to be amped up. We're going to want to press and bounce back. Let's kind of settle it down, get through it, and then let's just play our game. Because I think it's going to be a lot of back and forth, like you said, with them trying to spring these guys and then us pressing extremely high and also trying to do a quick counter. So they have 52% possession at home on average, almost 1,000 more passes in the same amount of games. A lot of them are short just when they're kind of tic-tac-toe. We already talked about them being in the box, but they are also a big through ball team. They're the 3rd most through balls in the MLS, and a lot of touches in the defensive 18 and final third as they build up.
Yeah. The through balls make so much sense too, with that speed they had, looking to get in behind and slot those passes in. So guys like Hebert, Parker, got to be helping your wing backs, your fullbacks this game. Same thing goes for them and your central midfielders. It's going to be everyone help everyone here situation, because there'll be chances where we definitely get caught out. And we're going to have to make recovery runs and get guys on the ball to prevent either a cross or shot opportunities. So offensively, that's kind of the outlook for them. Defensively, they have an XG against per 90 of 1.47, which gets them bottom 10 in the MLS. Above average, though, in goals against with only 1.1. So they're a little bit stingier than people give them credit for. And they have an even smaller XGA at home. They don't really press as much. A lot of their tackles come in their own defensive third, which is to be expected. They do have the second most yellow cards, like you said, per 90 is what my stat was. They have the most total right now, and only 2 clean sheets. So they're not getting the clean sheets. They're just grinding the results and limiting the damage. So for us, it's going to be a big game in terms of adversity for me. We've already faced it a couple of times this season. I think that was our worst game of the season we just came off of. I think there's some worry around, have we been figured out? Have we been exposed? We only have one loss on the road, though, I will say, and that came against Seattle, who we mentioned is a fantastic team. So we do have some decent road form, which is great. And plenty, we know the guys are hungry, man. The guys are hungry to turn this thing around. We heard their comments at the press conferences. They're not going to settle for what's happening right now. I'm hoping the same goes for Carnell and the staff, because this has got to change before it becomes a pattern. And we don't want to get into that slide.
I think there's just too many guys that are hungry. I think a lot of these guys are now, especially in the midfield and forward position, no one really has a lock spot unless you look at Leuven, in my opinion. I think Nico's been playing well, but he's kind of starting to play himself out. I'm never saying that we should take out Nico, but he only has 3 goals in our 10 games. And I think it's one, when you're playing that many minutes and staying up there with Klaus, you need to finish a little bit more. So looking at that, Azil and Celio and some of these Isaac Jensen and Ezekiel Jackson, all these guys are going to be ready to go. But who can really step up, especially on the road? Looking at our offense, XG of a 1.49 per 90 minutes gets us about 7th the MLS. We average 2.2 goals per game, which is the most in the MLS. So we're still outperforming our XG, which, I mean, with those percentages, it'll take a while. Even if we don't score there, we're going to be outperforming it for a little bit. Right. Nothing to hang our hat on, though, with how we've been playing. 4th highest XG per 90 minutes away at 1.59. 2 goals for away in the first half versus 8 goals for in the second half, which like you said, I think that's one of the things I scrolled down in the doc, which you are going to like later on. 76% of our goals for come between the 41st and the 80th minute. So likely, and most likely in the 41st to the 50th minute. So look for us to score, especially in the second half.
Yeah. Yeah, and like we said, we mentioned the least sequences. That's just not our offense, man. We just don't do the 10-plus passes. We are very direct and quick when we attack. Defensively, the stats are getting a little bit uglier, not going to lie. The XG against for us per 90 is towards the bottom, really. And we're only allowing 1.2 right now, goals per 90 minutes. So we're outperforming our defensive stats right now, hoping that trend continues where we bring the XGA down and we get a little more tight. We have a higher goals against, though, unfortunately, in away games. We average usually about a goal against us every 64 minutes. Let's hope that changes here on Saturday. We're most likely to be scored on at the kind of beginning-ish part of the second half. But second half is really just when we look to concede also and score. So like second half, the fireworks is going off for the teams that play us and for ourselves as well. We still have the most tackles in MLS defensively, man. We have 222 tackles through 10 games. And by the way, we had that stat by 40 tackles. So people aren't getting a sniff at St. Louis City right now. We are a little more on the negative side, though. We are also near the top in terms of shot on target against and saves, which, Berkey playing the way he has been, we've been able to live with that. I don't want that to continue much longer. I would like for us to get a little bit tighter in defense and not let as many shots through, but I am confident and still very happy with Berkey's performances. I think he's been our most consistent guy this season, maybe outside of Leuven.
I'm no big math guy, but that one that stuck with me when you said that we give up an average goal against every 64 minutes. Well, one, that can't happen twice in the same game. That's and we gave up a late goal last game. So like math-wise, I would say we only give up one.
That is right. That is right. There you go. Math guy checks it out. Let's get to starting 11, Justin. This is where I think I'm looking forward to. I was really looking forward to talking about this because I think this could be a game where if I'm Carnell, I am definitely shaking some things up, and I do not feel bad about it. Some guys are really showing that they're hungry and others not so much right now. And by the way, before I get into this specifically, this is what I think Carnell will do. This is not what I would do if I was Carnell. So if I'm putting myself in Carnell's shoes with his mind, I think the back four for me would be Johnny Nelson, Kyle Hebert, Tim Parker, Akil Watts, obviously Berkey in goal. So Akil Watts being the big change there over Nowinski for right now, just for a little more athleticism and dynamic play. I would go with 3 in the midfield with our 3 open midfielders we have right now, Miggy, Leuven, and Vasilev. And then I would put 3 up top with Nico on the left instead of in the middle. And then Celio Pompeo in the middle and Rasmus Alm on the right. Now, really quick, Justin, before I kick it over to you for some thoughts. If this was me, I would probably take out Miggy Perez drop Leuven and Vasilev into the kind of the deeper part of the midfield and put either Aziel Jackson or Ostrak at the tip of the midfield as more of an attacking midfielder. And otherwise, I am keeping Nico, Celio, and Rasmus Alm up top. I don't really care where they all fall. I think Alm's going to stay on the right for sure. But if they play Gioacchini in the middle and Pompey on the left, I don't really care. But that's my kind of thoughts on it as well.
I kind of like the idea of Ostrak with the triangle you said there. I would like to see a little bit more out of Miggy. I do think this is a time where I think we're gonna let Stroud sit this one out. I think me personally, I would keep Nico Gioacchini up top in the middle, just solely because I love seeing it. I think Celio is very comfortable on the wings. He gets up and back quick, and I think he likes taking people one-on-one from an angle. I don't think he's much of a guy with his back to the ball or running at you straight on. I think he likes being able to be shifty. So I think you definitely keep Rasmus Alm on the right. I'd put Celio on the left and Nico up top. But I agree with you. I think this is something that is probably most likely to come from Carnell. And I definitely like Akil Watson back in the right back, by the way. We talked about Nowinski. I think Akil's been playing enough minutes to where he's caught up. He shouldn't be as nervous, and he's been playing well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. And I could even think about having like Aziel Jackson play at the tip of that midfield trio as well. Like that guy looks raring and hungry as well. So for me, it's just like, who are the guys that really want it right now? And that have shown that they are capable. So I'm if I just see changes, that'll make me happy because it shows that Carnell is looking at that hunger level in these guys and knowing that what's going on right now is not acceptable. So that is where I'm hoping we go on Saturday. But Justin, predictions, man, this is going to be an interesting one, especially considering the change in rotation personnel. If he does do that, I've got us coming out of this with a 2-2 draw right now. I think this could be a pretty fun game with a high-flying attack that they have, and if we can get our attack back on track, no rhyme intended. I want to see goals. I just want to see us put up some opportunities and chances, man. That's what I want to see, and I know that it'll be hard to keep them off the board. I'm expecting a big second half in this one.
Okay. I just switched mine last minute. I know you probably already saw me doing it. I'm going with a 1-1 draw. I think it kind of holds true with them only giving up 1 goal a game. I think we can hold their offense, which obviously it's very high manpowered on paper, but not looking that hot. And I don't see us putting away 2, unfortunately. It's too many question marks for me, in my opinion, right now with our team. And I'm not worried. I think we could. I mean, we put away 5 on Union Omaha, so we could just explode like that, hopefully against an MLS team. But I could definitely see it being a 1-1 game.
Yeah. This game could go a lot of different directions for me. It was really hard to find a prediction, but to that end, Justin, I think we do have some good bets for you all this weekend. I'm pretty confident in mine. So I'll start with this. I mentioned it when I was talking about my prediction. Right now, it looks like for us to win, we're plus 295. For Dallas, it's minus 130. The draw plus 265. For me, the money is in the second half. Most of the Dallas game goals, either them or their opponent, and most of our goals, either us or our opponents, come in the second half. And I think we're most likely to score in the second half as well. So City just to score in the second half is minus 105 right now. We did it last game, despite that awful level of chance creation that we had. We just took one opportunity and it worked out for us, and it came in the second half with some new blood out in the field. I'm confident in us getting on the board in the second half, and I will lock that in at minus 105.
I like that. Sorry, I was just looking at other stuff. I think you can definitely bet on first half overs. The first half over 1.5 is plus 165. So I don't know. I'm trying to find the second half for you, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure it's
well, I'm looking here. But I'm going to. I'm not as confident. I told you, I tried to look up some stats, try to pull together some parlays or something like that. I'm just going with City double chance again to win or tie at minus 105. So you can go with the money line at plus 320 and go for the big thing or go home, or you can go or you can go with at plus 295, or you can go with us at either draw no bet, which is probably a little bit lower than that, at 205. But I'm just going to take the easy one, where if we can just get out of there with a point, I win my bet and I'll be happy.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. All right. So Justin, just a couple quick listener questions before we get to a small but brief cameo from a special guest for us to talk us through this game. But some questions, Justin, we got from some of the listeners here. Timeline for Nilsson coming back, from Tim Parker's Buckethead on Twitter. I haven't heard a timeline. We've always heard May. I'm expecting it very late May. So, and like I said, they're going to take their time with him. He's going to be a really important piece of our back line, and his injury was not something to scoff at. I mean, I think it was an ACL, right? Or It was ACL. I mean, it was knee injury for sure. So I don't want us to take any sort of chances with him, and let's ease him back into this. So I'm expecting like late May games at the very soonest.
I mean,
Maybe even early June.
It kind of sounds like, I mean, hopefully, knock on wood, that Blum's not going to be that long out, but I would see maybe kind of late May for both those guys. And there's no reason to push them with how long this season is. So,
right.
We got one on Instagram, Jake, from Chewy G. Should STL get another goal scorer in case we lose Klaus again? I mean, I would definitely, it's something to keep in mind, especially with having another DP spot and international spot. Also, you can look around the MLS, but one thing that you mentioned that made me excited was that Caden Glover's getting some minutes.
Yeah.
So it's nothing to be reliant on. The man's 15. The kid's 15. Sorry. Not even a man yet. But it's something we should definitely keep an eye out for.
I agree. And last question, just before we bring on our special guest, is just around who, what, when, and how we're going to improve this team with transfers this summer. No one's really been brought up besides Bobby Firmino. What's realistic expectation to get someone? Are they waiting for a new CEO to take over before they address it? A lot of questions built in there. I don't think we're going to be that aggressive this summer. I think we'll probably do maybe some international business, considering their league will be over, and we still have a couple, I think 2 international spots, and Lutz's connections there obviously run very deep. So some contracts will likely be up that we can maybe take advantage of. I think we might try to fill in some need areas like central midfield, maybe like forward depth. But I don't expect us to be too aggressive. I don't feel like the ownership and the club has shown to be too aggressive so far. They're looking to uncover talent versus just go out and purchase. So I think, and I don't think the new CEO, it's not. So Carolyn ended up bringing in the new president, right? So I don't think he's going to have much of a say in terms of the deals as much as like the business side of things. I think Lutz, this is all still very much in his wheelhouse, probably with some insight from Carolyn in the ownership group.
And everybody's asking about what we're going to be doing in the summer and stuff. I still love this team.
Yeah.
We're going to have ruts, guys. We just got to just stick with it. It's early. It's 10 games in, and we're still 4th in the MLS, or where we're at in the table now, maybe even higher. I forgot to where we said it earlier, but just be happy with where we're at. This is way better than where we thought we were going to start. So don't get greedy. Let's see what these guys can do. Also, one last shout out. Adam said it's going to be 93 degrees in that game.
Oh, fun.
Yes. We should worry about that. The boys trained in down there in Dallas and Houston early in the year. So not too concerned. No, it wouldn't have been as hot, but they'll be good.
Awesome. Well, Justin, let us welcome on our special guest for the evening. He's got some vast soccer experience. He loves his gear, and he's donning some today for us. Big things come in small packages. So we have a new member joining the pod, and his name is William. Oh, the mic almost goes down. William Joseph Koenig, our newest ball watcher, sporting the gear right now. It is what he is a week old. So mom and baby are doing great. Will is going to be joining the pod probably on a permanent basis coming up at some point. He's got some spicy takes. He's a little quiet right now, but you guys, he's just a little nervous. So he'll be bringing some insights to the club and breaking down all the games. Those probably at some point in the near future. You can see him just reaching for stardom right now. We're very excited to have him here. This is why last week was crazy for anyone that was wondering, but we'll be back on our grind, and Will be a part of it. So welcome to Will, and thank you all for tuning in. It's been a great episode. Looking forward to getting back into it, Justin and Will, and we will be very excited to move on Saturday. And I know us three all in this pod will all be watching.
Huge shout out to Jake and Maggie. It's awesome. Can't wait to meet the little guy, and pretty excited to have a baby ball watcher.
Awesome, dude. Well, thank you all for tuning in. We will be live probably again on Sunday. Maybe Will make an appearance if he's feeling up to it, or if he's not sleeping. He does a lot of that these days. But until then, we will catch you all on Sunday. Everyone have a great rest of your week. We'll talk to you soon.
See ya.